Madam Yaa, a renowned businesswoman in Accra, owned a popular salon known for its exquisite hairstyles and exceptional quality hair products. Her expertise attracted countless clients who admired her artistry in creating unique and beautiful looks, each crafted with precision and style. Remarkably, her high-quality hair products were also surprisingly affordable, a rarity in the beauty industry, which only added to her allure. Clients flocked to her salon, and demand was so high that securing an appointment required booking at least 2 months in advance. This exclusivity fueled the intrigue around Madam Yaa and her thriving business. Competitors in the beauty industry grew envious of her success and tried, time and again, to discover her secret supplier for affordable, high-quality hair products. Despite their efforts, they always fell short. Curiously, Madam Yaa employed only a single apprentice, a young woman named Oma. Many wondered why she didn't hire more staff to handle her booming business, especially given the intense workload. But Madam Yaa was known for her unique approach and strict standards, including an unusual rule: any hairstyle she provided, whether wigs, braids, or extensions, should not stay on a client's head for more than 3 months. Although the rule seemed odd, clients didn't question it much, as few would keep a style for longer than 3 months anyway. Little did they know, this rule had a deeper, more mysterious purpose. One bright afternoon, Madam Yaa was preparing her salon for another bustling day when her first client, Gifty, walked through the door. Gifty's mother-in-law had given her a recommendation, insisting on Madam Yaa's salon as the perfect gift before she set off on her honeymoon. "She'll make you look stunning," her mother-in-law had said. "You'll be unforgettable." Gifty, intrigued by the hype, explained to Madam Yaa the hairstyle she envisioned, and Madam Yaa immediately set to work. With expert hands and an eye for perfection, she crafted a masterpiece. The final result was breathtaking. Gifty looked radiant, transformed by Madam Yaa's magic. As she admired herself in the mirror, Gifty finally understood why her mother-in-law had so strongly recommended this salon. Stepping outside, Gifty was met by her husband, David, who had come to pick her up. The moment he laid eyes on her, he was visibly stunned. Speechless, he couldn't take his eyes off her. It was as if he had fallen in love all over again. Beaming with pride, the newlyweds left for their honeymoon, her new look casting a spell on both of them. But as Gifty left, there was something her mother-in-law had neglected to mention, a small but vital rule that Madam Yaa upheld with every client. The hairstyles crafted in her salon, whether a braid, a wig, or an intricate installation, were not to be worn for more than 3 months. It was an unusual restriction that many brushed off, yet it was a condition Madam Yaa took very seriously. And, unbeknownst to Gifty, her enchanting new look came with a mysterious timeline. David and Gifty's 3-month honeymoon was an unforgettable experience. They traveled from one exotic location to another, basking in their newlywed bliss and enjoying every moment together. And through it all, Gifty's braid, crafted by the legendary Madam Yaa, remained impeccable, drawing compliments from everyone they encountered. Strangers praised its luster and neatness, astonished by how fresh it looked despite the passing weeks. However, as their final month began, Gifty noticed something peculiar. A faint headache began to surface now and then, just a dull ache that didn't seem too concerning at first. She dismissed it, thinking it might be due to the excitement and travel. Whenever it became bothersome, a quick painkiller would alleviate the discomfort, but only temporarily. Strangely, after about 3 days, the headache would return, each time a bit more intense. As days passed, the pain grew sharper and more frequent. It was no longer just an occasional nuisance, it felt as though something was pressing down on her scalp, a discomfort she couldn't quite explain. What had started as a small annoyance was now making her uneasy, yet the thought of removing the beautiful braid didn't cross her mind. After all, Madam Yaa's work was known for its durability and quality, so she assumed this discomfort would soon pass. Meanwhile, back at Madam Yaa's salon, things weren't going as smoothly as before. Business had slowed, not drastically, but enough for her to notice the dip in clients. Anxiety crept in, and Madam Yaa found herself increasingly preoccupied with trying to figure out what had gone wrong. Had she made a mistake? Had her once flourishing business lost its charm? Omar, her dedicated apprentice, noticed the tension in Madam Yaa's behavior. She'd seen her mentor slip away with her phone more often than usual, always with a troubled look. One afternoon, Omar's curiosity got the better of her. She quietly followed Madam Yaa, creeping toward the restroom door, and there, with her ear pressed against it, she overheard a shocking conversation. "Oga, what is this?" Madam Yaa whispered urgently. "My business is sleeping, but I haven't stopped doing the rituals. As you instructed, I still collect hair from the dead and wash it with water from the bath of the deceased, just as always. But still, my business is suffering." Omar's eyes widened as she listened, her heart racing. Madam Yaa paused, listening to the voice on the other end of the line. Then, with a frustrated sigh, she continued, "What do you mean someone broke the 3-month rule?" Omar froze in disbelief, struggling to make sense of what she had just heard. Rituals. Hair from the dead. The woman she had admired and aspired to become, renowned for her craft and success, was entangled in something dark and disturbing. The pieces began to fit together, Madam Yaa's mysterious 3-month rule, and her insistence on strict adherence to it. Omar backed away from the door, horrified by the revelation. She had always looked up to Madam Yaa, dreaming of one day becoming as talented and successful. But this knowledge changed everything. She was now faced with the chilling truth that Madam Yaa's success was built upon secrets far darker than she could ever have imagined. As Gifty's headaches intensified, she and David made the difficult decision to cut their honeymoon short and return home earlier than planned. Upon arriving back, Gifty's first priority was to visit Madam Yaa's salon. The pain had grown unbearable, and now, a strange crawling sensation seemed to stir within her scalp. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. When she arrived, Madam Yaa's salon was bustling. 3 other clients were already waiting, each casting impatient glances toward Madam Yaa, who was busy with another customer. But Gifty couldn't wait. Desperate, she approached Madam Yaa directly, her voice trembling. "Please, Madam Yaa, the headaches are unbearable. I can feel something moving in my hair. I need these braids out now." With a sigh of irritation, Madam Yaa called Omar over. "Omar, undo Gifty's braids quickly." "She can't wait," she instructed, her tongue clipped. Omar began unbraiding Gifty's hair, but as she walked, she noticed something strange. A tiny, white speck fell from the comb, catching her attention. Out of curiosity, and a growing sense of dread, she patted Gifty's hair carefully. Her eyes widened in horror as she saw riding maggots nestled within Gifty's scalp. Omar gasped and recoiled, dropping the comb and stepping back. "Maggots," she cried, her voice filled with disgust and alarm. The other clients, who had been frustrated with Gifty for skipping the queue, stood up to see what was happening. When they caught sight of the ghastly scene, gasps of horror filled the room. Gifty, stunned and mortified, reached up to touch her scalp but recoiled at the sensation. Her confusion and fear mingled as she glanced at the horrified faces around her. She wanted to flee, to run as fast as she could, but she was paralyzed by shock. In that moment, Gifty realized she had been caught in something far more sinister than she had ever imagined. As the horror of the situation unfolded, Madam Yaa tried to quietly slip out of the shop, hoping to escape the growing anger of her clients. But one of the women noticed her edging toward the exit and grabbed her arm, demanding, "Where do you think you're going? You owe us an explanation." A commotion erupted, and a small crowd began gathering outside the shop, drawn by the raised voices and tense atmosphere. Madam Yaa attempted to feign innocence, denying any involvement in what had happened to Gifty. But the crowd was skeptical, noticing her lack of shock and her attempt to sneak away. When confronted about her reaction, Madam Yaa's face went pale, and she struggled to find an excuse, her voice faltering. Then Omar, remembering the phone call she had overheard, decided to reveal what she knew. "I heard her on the phone," Omar announced to the crowd, her voice shaking. "She was talking about a ritual, something about buying hair from corpses and washing it in corpse bath water before using it in her salon. That's why she insists on her 3-month rule." A wave of shock and revulsion swept through the crowd. Outraged, the clients threatened Madam Yaa, warning her to confess or face dire consequences. Cornered and trembling with fear, Madam Yaa finally admitted to everything, her voice breaking as she confessed to the dark rituals that had fueled her business. The crowd's anger boiled over, and they dragged Madam Yaa outside. Fueled by disgust and betrayal, they set fire to the salon, watching as flames devoured the place that had once held so much allure. Desperate, Madam Yaa let out a wild scream and, in a fit of panic, ran back into the burning shop. The flames closed around her, marking the end of her dark legacy. Gifty, on the other hand, eventually received the medical help she needed, though the trauma left lasting scars. She was too terrified to ever visit a salon again and decided to stick with shaving her hair, a decision born out of fear but also a sense of newfound freedom. The memory of her experience served as a permanent reminder of the danger hidden beneath Madam Yaa's glamorous facade, a dark story that would be retold in whispers throughout the city for years to come.